Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Joni Young and today I'm going to be showing you step by step how to paint this pretty landscape in the forest with sun beaming through right here by a beautiful tree. We're going to be using the following colors. I've got quite a few here, and of course you can use less of these and any other color variations. I'll have a full list below the video in the description box as well. So let's get started. Sap green, light olive green, blue teal, burnt sienna, phthalo blue, cobalt blue, prism purple violet, or dioxazine purple, neon yellow warm, and neon orange, plus some titanium white. So I'm going to get started by just working on the light blue for the background, and I'm going to be using a flat brush here for this. You can use any color for this actually, or any brush, not color. But I'm just going to get, this is a number 12 flat, I'm going to get a little bit of white and tint it with some of this blue. So it's just a very, very light, and it will dry a little bit darker, so I'm going to be a little bit more generous with my white. Just take a little scoop of each here. And I'm just patching this in. This is just going to be peeking through the trees. We're only going to see a little bit of this, but it's important. Don't want to leave this out. And right away, I'm going to start adding, let's see, what brush do I want to use? You can use any mop, stipple, or fan brush for this. I'm just going to create some light leaves through where the sun is going to be coming through. So I'm working on the background, and I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I've got a 1-inch oval mop brush, a little bit of my light olive green, let's just take a little bit more there. Okay, and I'm going to start right about here. That'll be the background, and this will be the foreground. So just above the halfway mark. And we're just going to tap in and around that blue. Try to change the placement of your brush so it doesn't look like too much of a pattern. And then I'm just going to soften just by twisting, making little circles to blend that. Now I might go over part of this because I do want it to be, the background to be higher. So I'm coming over this area right here. Okay, so the next color, and I'm just going to keep using this brush. The next color I want to use is, first of all, I'm just going to use a little bit more, less white and just more of this light green. I'm going to do the same thing, change the direction of my brush. Okay, and then right away, the next color, we're going to add a little bit of purple, a little bit of sap green in with that light olive green. So we're going to make a darker color now. And all of this will dry a little bit darker, so that's why I'm just adding it lightly first without adding too much of my purple. I don't want to make it too dark yet until I see how it starts to dry. I'm going to come in right up here, and it's going to be more solid in shadow, and right from the top as well. Now I've got a bit too much white in my brush, so that is preventing it from being dark enough, so I'm going to take a little bit more of my green and purple. And I'm just going to go over this up here in the top right. And we're going to slowly start to overlap all those sunlit leaves in the background. It's pretty solid at the top there too. Pick up some more paint. Light little taps, a little bit more right along the edge here. Remember to turn your brush. Okay, I'm going to be more generous. Not pushing too hard, not pulling anywhere with my brush. The reason why I'm using purple, like always, I like to use complementary colors. Purple and yellow are complementary, and we're using like a yellowy green. So I know they'll look good together. Okay, then I'm just gonna sweep, tap, 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 sweep. Okay, now this will be the foreground, and that's the background. I'm going to use my number 3 liner brush. I'm going to get it a little bit wet, and I'm going to use purple and green, a little bit of burnt sienna. Get a really nice dark color. And our tree is going to be coming in from right about here. I'm going to be going around it. This is just a rough placement because I do have to add the green and stuff here in the foreground. But just to know, we need a starting point. This looks like the beautiful trees that grow here on Vancouver Island, arbutus. They have the most beautiful bark patterns on them and colors. They kind of remind me of those rainbow eucalyptus trees that you see. I've seen those in Hawaii and they're so pretty. I'm just gonna gently twist and roll the brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of phthalo in with that. Phthalo blue is nice and dark, so, and it'll give a nice, add a nice depth. And we're gonna come right across. All the way up off the canvas. Make that a little bit thicker there. And then we're going to have another big branch from here. That's going to cross over and kind of bow. Have a little arch right there. And then we'll create little branches. Lots of little branches, using less pressure, more of the tip of our brush. Take burnt sienna, phthalo blue, and green. I'm all out of my purple, but this makes a really nice dark color. So it's important when you're using liner brush to really take the time to twist and pull the paint that's collecting up top on your brush out and bring it back to the tip. That will make painting your skinny little branches so much easier. I always say if you're a little bit shaky, it'll make for some really natural looking branches. I had a few cups of coffee this morning, so that's helping me with making some shaky brush strokes for my branches. Okay, I'm finished with the liner brush for now. I'm going to add another layer of dark shadow leaves here, and this time I'm going to use another mop brush here. This one is an angle mop brush, and yes, I'm using makeup brushes. Many of you guys have got these now because I recommend them and they're great to use. They don't shed and they're so soft, and look at how pretty the handles are. So I'm just going to tap in with a dry brush, and we'll tap over some of these branches here. Let's get a little bit more of that burnt sienna. A little bit of burnt sienna with the green. A little bit of blue in there, the phthalo blue. Get up top there carefully. Add a little bit around here. I'm just going to soften a little bit here with my finger. Well, it's drying so fast I'm unable to, so I'm going to go over to my liner brush and add a few more delicate branches here in the background. And I'm going to use some water, of course, so you need water, and more of the burnt sienna. Just make those some branches. Little wiggles. A little bit more water on my brush. And I'll go into the darker color there, just to make some of these stand out a little bit more. Maybe we've got some branches coming in from this side. I don't know. We can just make up our own little forest here. Add branches and trees wherever we want. I'm going to take a little bit of my light olive green with my burnt sienna. Add a few more. A little bit more of the green in here. Just building up the saturation a little bit and depth all at the same time. Of course, we're going to have our sun right about here, but for it to be nice and bright, we need to make sure that it's nice and dark around. I will be adding a lot more burnt sienna and really making this warmer, but it's wet right now, and that gives me the opportunity to start coming in the foreground, which I need to do before I come up on that tree, over that tree. So I'm going to be using cool greens for most of the foreground. The warmth is back there through the sun, and this is cool shadows. So the blue teal and the phthalo blue, and maybe I'll add some bright aqua green turquoise. That's nice as well. We'll see how the painting progresses, and if I need to add any other colors, I'll be sure to let you guys know. I'm going to use a number 12 flat brush just to come around the tree, and I'm going to use phthalo blue and my sap green. Beautiful, beautiful colors together, and I'm going to go all around. Isn't that gorgeous? So rich and vivid. And let's see if I can make another deep green by taking the phthalo with the light olive green. Yep, that works too. I'm going to loosen some of this paint up with some water. It's quite thick, which looks beautiful, but I know I'm going to be layering over quite a bit of this. Okay, I'm just going to reload my brush here. And I'm not being too overly careful because I know I need to come over this tree anyways. We just needed it there for some placement. I use a little bit of light olive green. There's some areas in here where we've got some light, some of that sunlight hitting. Okay, we've got a hint of it because this tree is here in the foreground, so there's a big branch hanging over here, and I'm going to add some of the cool green to that. And I'll just change it up and use a fan brush. So just mixing phthalo and then the sap green. Just quick little taps like this. There we go. Just a little bit right in there. All right, so now I'm going to go over to my 1-inch oval mop brush, and I'm going to add some highlights now in low-lying, I don't know if it's ivy or moss, a little bit of white and that light olive green. And I'm just going to start making low little taps like this, leaving some spaces in between. Again, I'm not worried about my tree because I'm going to go over that anyways. A little bit more of white, just so that I make sure it shows up once it's dry. I'm going to tap it out after you get that paint on there so you keep the shape on the end of your brush. I'm going to be more generous now with my white. Light taps, don't push too hard. And maybe there's a few little grassy areas in here. So this area down here is going to have some bigger leaves with the beautiful purple flowers, so that's why I'm not bothering with that right now. I'm going to quickly dry this off and start working on our next layers. Okay, so it's nice and dry now, and I can come in with my burnt sienna. And I'm going to bring it around down here, have a little bit of a curve to it. So where that sun is coming through is where we're going to see it a lot brighter. So we'll play up a little bit more here in this area for red. And then I'm going to add a little bit of neon yellow warm right away without over blending. That gives it that wonderful patterned bark where it's kind of starting to peel off. I'm going to add a filter of the yellow warm on the background. And I'm just going to use a number 12 Filbert brush. I'm going to get it damp, so you definitely don't want it dripping. You just want the bristles to be a little bit wet and very thin amount of paint. Okay, now I'm going to come in and tap in a few areas here. Bringing in a little bit more sunlight back there. See how you change up the temperature like that and it's just so pretty. Take a little bit more white. A bit more of that yellow. And just light little taps. Just a suggestion of a little bit. And then I'm going to take my burnt sienna with my yellow. And I'm going to go through here again. A bit more smooth this time. Now what I really want to do is bring in some purple. We're going to tie in the purple flowers that are here and the background, so there's just fields of it. It's just growing wild throughout there. So let's take, this is the purple I'm using by Liquitex Basics, Prism Violet. It's very close to dioxazine. It's very close to dioxazine. I tried to get a little bit, but never fails. Half the tube comes out. And it's hard to put it back in those, so I won't be able to do that, but I'll definitely use it for another tutorial after this. So just with my, you can use any little brush you want. I'm using my number 12 again, a little bit of that purple with a bit of white, and I'm going to start to bring it up on a slant and a slope like that. Okay, I'll get a little bit more here. Gentle little taps. A little bit more here. Oh, that's so pretty. Those colors are so complementary together, aren't they? A little bit of white. And then I'm going to go into my yellow. Let's just take a little bit more there. And kind of tie that sunlight in there. And a little bit here as well. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. This time I'm going to add a little bit of my Cobalt because we're getting into some cooler. Let's add a little bit more cooler shadows here on these flowers. We just got wild, I don't know what kind of flowers these are. Maybe they're like bell flowers. Okay, now we can start working on the purple flowers and a little bit more bigger leaves and plants here in the foreground. So I'm just taking both of my greens and I'm just gonna make little pushes and pulls like this for some types of leaves that are still kind of like out of focus, but it just brings us into the foreground a little bit more here. And then just layer over that area a little bit. There we go. We still got a lot of those nice cool shadows peeking through underneath. Okay, now I'm gonna go into, actually I'm gonna add a little bit of purple and my Cobalt here in the front just for some nice contrast around my leaves. So I'm gonna cut in here. I'm gonna outline them I just pulled in a little bit of my phthalo. That works too if you want to use some phthalo blue. I think we're going to have some dark shadows here around our leaves. So I'm going to add a little triangle, teepee looking shape right there. Again, I'm using the purple, making a deep purple color here, blue purple. I'm changing the temperature up with adding that blue. And I'm using this because it's complementary. So it looks like a little bird. And then I'm just gonna make little patchy shapes here, maybe some bigger leaves. And then we'll have one, we're gonna have a stem right here. And I'm gonna use a little bit more green over top of that, of course. And green, purple, and blue, a little scoop of each. And we're gonna have some, like we're seeing them from behind here, so we're not seeing the face of the leaf, we're seeing kind of just the edge of it, so it looks flat. So that's what these scoopy shapes are. And some of them are filtering a little bit of light. Just gonna take a little bit of my olive green there. Some of them are filtering a little bit of light, so I'm gonna take a little bit of my olive green there and add a little dab like that. Okay, then I'm gonna go, I should wash this brush out. Sometimes I just get so excited while I'm painting that I want to skip washing my brush out, but I really don't want to have the olive yellowy green in there. So what I'm going to do is start coming in with my leaves, and I'm going to take my blue teal with my cobalt, and I don't know if you guys can hear my dog snoring. She did this yesterday too in my video. It's hilarious. She's the tiniest dog and has the biggest dog snore. Okay, so that'll just be our first layer. That's one of the leaves, and then we'll come out with this one. Picking up a little bit of that purple there from our shadow colors, which is really pretty. I like that. Okay, then I'm going to add another one right about here. A little bit more of that teal. And this one kind of has it's turning a little bit. So I'm going to go around the outer edges of it and come in here with our shadows. Kind of just outline a little bit more of that purple. A little bit more. And I will be adding another one in here. I was going to wait for it to dry off a little bit. This one's going to be like these ones are, we're just seeing the side of it. It scoops down. And I'll take a little bit of white here. And then green and purple. Kind of wiggle and flatten my brush so I get it nice and narrow on the end. and add a stem. And then just go underneath like that. Okay, we'll add a few more. Push, wiggle. Add a little bit of that phthalo. Kind of wiggle. Make some of the leaves. Some of these leaves are going to have some ripples in them. Okay, and then take some more sap green this time. And just add some stems here and there. Maybe some more leaf shapes. Okay, I'm going to take that green and phthalo again and start to soften some of these leaves up, and then I can come in with, there, that's good enough. I'll come in with the veining pattern of the inside of the leaf. So I'm going to switch back over to my, well, this one's a zero liner brush. You can use any liner brush that you want. Make sure that you get it wet, and I'm just going to make a lighter shade. So take a little bit of white in there, pull, twist, so you have a little bit on the end to work with. I'm going to just do a line that comes down, and then some lines from that line. Okay, just keep it simple. We'll come over to this one here and do the same thing. And this one's, we're not going to see too much, but we can add a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of my white and my yellow, and I'm going to add some light filtering in right in this area, just a little bit sort of patchy like. And I'm just going to make little shapes. So I'm just imagining that there's all sorts of little branches and twigs and stems and leaves and stuff, and in between all those, the beautiful sunlight is hitting down here. So some are just sunlit little branches. I know this part is going to feel really wrong, and you guys are going to think, oh no, I'm totally ruining it. Don't judge it until the entire painting is done, trust me. Because if I'm feeling like that now, after all these years of painting, I know that it's gonna look, and I'm just ignoring that. You just have to ignore those voices in your head that tell you, nope, that it's not working, check it out. Ignore that. That's all part of learning to paint and the painting process. So as I stand back, now I'm standing back and I think it looks nice. I like that. I'm going to take just a little bit of that yellow with my sap green and make more of that light olive green color. And I'm going to add a little bit of that around here as well. Can I just outline that stem too? I'm just going to come inside some of these and add a little bit more paint. Just the same color, white with that yellow. I'm using a little bit more yellow than the white. That way later on, if I want to and if I need to, I can always add a little bit more. I'm going to take some of my purple now, some white, a little bit more here, and a little bit of my neon orange. It's starting to dry. I'm going to add little dabs in here. A little bit more. I'm going to grab some burnt sienna and some of the purple. A little bit of purple now. Overlapping, part of that will make some different shades. Okay, now I'm going to start coming in with my flowers, and I'm going to use a small Filbert brush. I've got a number 1 here. The last thing I'm going to add is the sun and the sun rays. Just before I add those flowers though, I want to go over the edge of, make sure this is nice and outlined here. So just with purple, burnt sienna, those nice dark colors. Some areas here just looking a little see-through. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my purple and white. I'm going to take a little bit of the cobalt blue with that. Get a nice cool purple color. Maybe we'll make it a little bit darker to start. And so they're like little trumpets, trumpet flowers almost. We've got a skinny, let's just say it's like a skinny triangle, getting narrower down here, a little bit wider there. And I'm gonna scoop up my paint, just go over that again. And then push gently and pull in for the petals. Because it's facing out this way, so we're just seeing it from this angle. Okay, and then Another hint of one right there. So what we'll be doing is giving this shadow from the underside here. So we'll go inside and pull, inside and pull. Which will be a lot easier to do once it's dry. But you could get a really neat effect by doing it like this too. I want this leaf, I just wiped the excess paint off of there, and I want this leaf to come up over. There we go. Just gonna outline some of these here. All right, so I'm ready for the next one. Get a nice scoop on my brush here. And a little gentle pull, pull. That one's behind. Sort of behind the stem. So I'll just put that stem right through it. There we go. Take a little bit more of my purple. And mix up some more. Sometimes you can use a little bit more blue. That'll really help to change it up as well. Okay, now we've got one here, and we're seeing kind of the end of it, and it's going out this way. Take a little bit more white. Okay, so it's going to start to get a little wider right here. And then we'll have gentle push, wiggle, and pull it in. Load my brush up again. Push, bring it in, the other side. So it kind of balls out there, and then it gets narrower. So narrow there on the end, and then pulling in. So how you use your brush, when to let off and when to push a little bit harder, is going to make it so much easier for you. So I'll start one right here. Gentle, push, and then bring it in. And then we've got one underneath there. Now as these dry, I'll be able to add more colors to brighten them up and create the vivid look. The color I am going to be adding is my Neon Luminous Violet. I'll make sure it's dried off first before I do that though. So let's continue along here with our flowers. We've got, actually this one has a little white center, a lighter center. Let's get a little bit more paint on our brush here. Need something to work with. Gentle push, wiggle in. And then this one's curving over. Now it's going to be a little bit more purple. because we're seeing the underside here. And then one back there. I'll bring in a little bit of white again, bring that white up a little bit higher. Okay, we're going to have one over here. Smaller. We'll just do a little simpler shape there. Have it come down, and then with some purple and green, a little stem. Just do a little bit more green over that. I'm going to add a little bit more of that purple and green in and around here for some more shadows. And over here as well. Just going to lift off some of that and tap it around. And right under here, that'll really make that stand out better too. And we're going to see a hint of another flower petal, kind of just going down here. See how it's kind of bell shaped like that? Bell or trumpet shaped. So it's coming down here, getting wider, and we can't see the petals. I'm going to go around the outside of it with that blue and purple and make it just stand out a little bit more. The flowers are dry now, and I'm applying some luminous neon violet. I'm going to use my round brush, it's number 2. And I'm going to take a little bit of white with my violet. A little bit more generous. And I'm going to start to overlap in a few areas here. Add a little bit more white to this area where the light's filtering. And then take the violet with a little bit of that bluey purple that I had before. Push and pull. Stick a little bit more blue. And a little stem there. Just use any dark color to make it narrower. Back to my purple. And I'm gonna just outline here. We've got a petal that comes right in the front here. And then a shadow there. Go and add a little bit more violet just to sort of blend that in. And then a little bit of white along the edge there for a highlight. Well, I've got that color. Push gently and pull right from the end here. And same with that one. And you notice my white is mixed with some other colors, and that's okay as long as you're using mostly white. Okay, I'm going to go right into my violet. And be a little bit more generous with the violet now. I just love this color. It's so pretty. Push. Pull for those little flower petals. And then a little bit of white inside. Need to add a little bit more white right in here. Little taps and dabs in here. So all the colors tie together. All right, so I'm going to come in here with violet and my purpley blue color, a little bit of white. Come inside, take just a little bit more white now. And then I'm going to go around the edges with this bright violet. A little bit more purple. Right in there. And then back over to my violet. Outline. And then we'll fill this one in a little bit more with a tiny bit of white inside. Just a little bit like that. I'm going to add some more depth here on the underside of these petals. So purple and blue. Let's just take a little bit more here. Just a little line like that. And then my violet and white. And then another little one sneaking back there. to brighten this up a little bit. I think there was a little bit of green underneath that wasn't completely dry yet. And just maybe a little hint here and there of this color, so it makes it look like there's some more little purple flowers around there. Now with a clean brush, I'm going to take white with my phthalo. Let's see, I don't want to have too much paint on my brush. Just going to add a little bit more color here where there'd be some more shadow from the leaf above. And then this one, because it's curling over, would have a little bit more shadow right there. And then I'm going to take a little bit more white and bring that up a few shades lighter. Make it more of a dry brush. I just want to add a little bit more texture to some of these leaves. Then I'll come in with a little bit more white. Outline this one, add a little bit more of a highlight. Take a little bit more of that blue. A little bit of light right there. Okay, almost done these flowers, and then we can add our sun. Just want to make sure that it dries to a nice color. Just add a little bit more white right in here, and this will give the petals a little bit of that light filter. Flower petals are so delicate, and it just looks beautiful when you can see that light filtering through them. Okay, and I'm just going to start painting my sun rays with my round brush. So you want it to be fairly dry. leaves. We'll just start out with somewhat of a star shape like that, and then I'm going to move over to my number 1 Filbert brush. Take a little bit more white in those same colors. I want to make the sun rays slightly wider. Okay, I'm going to keep going, adding a little bit more white, a little bit of water. A little bit more of the orange and the yellow. And then I'm going to take white and place that inside. And start to pull and flick into those existing sun rays. A little bit of orange and yellow. And then I'm going to take that yellow with a little bit of green. And bring some light down here, the sunlight hitting some of these leaves. So let's take a little bit more white on this one. I'm going to take a little bit of orange, white, and violet. And a little dab here of the orange and the yellow, and then back over to my green and purple. And we'll add a few more little lines for stems and grass. pull some blue in there too. I'm having so much fun with this painting, I don't want to finish. Okay, I'm gonna just add the last little final bit of yellow in there. Yellow and white. Okay, I'm going to call this painting all done. This was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this one and you want to paint along. Thanks for taking the time to join me in my studio today. I'll see you guys all soon in another video. Bye!